Hi everyone, we're going to solve the palindrome coding challenge. And in order to solve this exercise, it will be helpful to understand a method called reversed. And I have a link to W3 Schools here where we can take a look at that method. Actually, I should call it a function because it is part of Python by default, not necessarily attached to a specific type of object, although it is most frequently used with lists. So let's take a quick look at this and run. So notice we have a list as an input, and we are taking a look at each item in the object that is returned. So this is the reverse of the characters that are in the initial list. So we can see that it does in fact give us those items out of order, so in the opposite order. So let's explore this a little bit and see what we can do. So I'm going to do reverse, and I'm going to try just a simple string. Okay, so I'm going to run this, and I don't get anything. So what if I were to do print reversed? When we're in Replit, we have to print everything. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. This creates an object, but there's some objects that are created in Python that are not visible to us. It's just an object that is stored kind of in the background in our workspace. So we actually would have to do something more with this to see what is contained in the reversed version of this. Okay, so we could call this our dog. Why not reversed dog? And then we could just explore and say for I in our dog print I, because I noticed in the description that this is an iterable object. So if we explicitly ask to look at the characters in the reversed object, we are going to see them printed. Okay. There's also something more we could do since what we have is an iterable object, and we want to actually combine those characters, G-O-D, in order so that they become, again, a string. And we can actually do that. So a little bit more exploring will reveal that to us. So I do have the object our dog. And whenever I want to combine characters in a string into a string, I can use the join method. Okay, so I'm going to call this the result because I know this is going to be my final object that I create. So what I will do is just specify a join character, and that's just going to be empty space. There's no space in between because we do want the characters in this string to be attached to each other, no space between them. And so I will reference the object that I've made, and then I'm going to have to print that result. Oh, that was quite silly of me. I forgot to write join dog. There we go. So we have to join the characters together and then print the result. There we go. Okay, finally. All right, so we have what we are looking for here, and this is going to be useful to us in the function called palindrome because what we want to do is see if the word is the same forward and backwards. So let's turn this into a function. Let's build the functionality. We're going to call the function palindrome. So I'll start off by defining a function, and I'll call it palindrome, and it's going to accept a string. So I'm just going to do, okay, no, you know what? I'm going to call it word because I want to be specific about what type of object I'm accepting. Okay, so this is going to be a word because could actually be a sentence. This will work just as well. So our function is set up. Now let's try to build in some of the functionality that we have just explored. So I'm going to call this R word for reversed word, and I'll set that equal to the reversed version of the word. So reversed. Okay, and why don't I see what I have so far? Just to make sure I'm getting something. So I need to uncomment my tests. So I'll uncomment the first test so I can see, and I'll comment out my exploratory work. Okay, so I do get a reference to that object, but I'm not seeing the characters. That's okay. We know that it's working. Let's go ahead and reassign. We could say our word is now going to be equal to joined version of the R word. So I'm just reassigning using the same variable name. And now let's see what we got. Okay, so now I am getting this reversed version of the word. I get a none because I have no return statement. So let's now compare our word to the input, which is word. And we want to do this with a conditional because we don't know if the input word is going to be a palindrome or not. So we need to write that condition to check. So what we can do then is say if the input word is equal to the reversed word, then we want to return a true. And if the case is otherwise, we want to return a false. Okay, so in our first case, we should get a false. That's correct because dog is not a palindrome. We have some extra cases to check. Here's one that is a palindrome. So I'm defining a word, DAD, so we get a true. Have some extra ones here. This is a Finnish word that means dealer of lye, which is a caustic type of chemical. One of the longest single word palindromes. And then we have a phrase from a movie that I like. Maybe you've seen some other references to that movie. So we appear to be getting the correct output. So we seem to have the right functionality here for our